I'm Ryan LeStrange, and this is our spiritual warfare series. Today I want to talk about a very controversial spirit, the spirit of Jezebel. Now, Jezebel first appears in the Bible as an Old Testament character. She's a very demonic person married to the king at the time, Ahab, and she establishes this very demonic set of protocol in the land during that time. But then, interestingly enough, she crops up, at least the mention of Jezebel, crops up again in the book of Revelation when the actual woman Jezebel that we see in the Old Testament has been dead for over 800 years. In Revelations 2, in verse 20, it says, "Nevertheless, I have a few things against you because you allowed that woman Jezebel, who calls herself a prophetess, to teach and seduce my servants." So we see in Revelations Jezebel being mentioned again. This tells us that the Bible's not just showing us a person, but the spirit that operated through this biblical character, Jezebel. Now, the first thing we need to know is that Jezebel is an anti-anointing spirit. What this means is that she fights against the anointing of God. In the book of 1 John 2 and 18, it talks about many antichrist spirits being upon the earth in the last days. Now, the word Christ means the anointing or the anointed one and his anointing. So there are antichrist spirits, anti-anointing spirits that are assigned to fight the anointing of God. I always say it this way. An anti-anointing spirit doesn't care if you sing a song. It just wants to make sure there's no anointing on the song, because it's the anointing that destroys the yoke and sets the captive free. Jezebel is an anti-anointing spirit sent from hell to divide the people of God, to dominate, to control, and to manipulate. And this spirit works strongly against the work of God in the church, even now in this time. Now, the woman Jezebel that the Bible talks about was married to the king of Israel, Ahab, and he did more evil than all the previous kings. This was because his wife was a demon-possessed woman named Jezebel. She was bound with a controlling and manipulating spirit. This same spirit, as I said earlier, is in the earth today, wreaking havoc upon the churches. Jezebel hates the prophetic anointing of God. Now, let's stop right here and understand this. Spirits have no gender. They're neither male nor female. So people ask, well, does the Jezebel spirit only operate through women? No, it can operate through any vessel. Jezebel spirits have to have a weak leader. Ahab was a weak leader. A Jezebel needs an Ahab. A Jezebel spirit cannot come into a church and really work strong in that church without weak leadership that allows it. One of the things Jezebel does is it attempts to operate in its own prophetic ministry. Revelations 2:20 said that Jezebel calls herself a prophet. She wasn't called by God, but she attempts to infiltrate prophetic ministry. When someone with a Jezebel spirit comes into a church, it will try to come into the prophetic ministry. It's looking for a platform. It's looking for recognition. It's looking to give out prophecies. Jezebel works through messengers. In 1 Kings 19:1, she sends a messenger against the prophet of God. So it's looking for that. She killed John the Baptist. She had his head cut off. I believe that was the manifestation of the Jezebel spirit. She looks for weaker people to disciple. That's one of the first things Jezebel does, is looks for people that are weak and then begins to boast of her spirituality. She'll use flattery. She'll call people in the name of prayer and begin to gossip and begin to talk negative about other people. That's what Jezebel does. She will flatter the leadership because she's looking for authority. She's looking for influence. She'll tell the leaders how anointed they are, how gifted by God they are. If she has financial means, she'll use money to gain influence. She boasts of spiritual revelation. See, I found when you're really called to be a prophet, you don't have to go announce it to everybody. The calling and the gifting will announce itself. But Jezebel announces her spirituality because she has a false spirituality. She'll tell you how many visions she has, how many revelations she has, how long she's prayed. She always has a hidden agenda. And then she begins to build a team of allies if she's in a church. Now, if she's working one-on-one, it's a little different. She will say that the pastor's not spiritual enough, the leadership's not spiritual enough, and she'll begin to exert control and manipulation. When leaders demand submission, she will throw a fit, and she will attempt to divide and to conquer. The Jezebel spirit is a dividing and conquering spirit. It's a spirit that intimidates and manipulates. It's a spirit we have to kick out of our personal lives, and we have to kick out of our churches. Someone asked me one time, do I have a Jezebel spirit? I said this, most every person I've ever known with a Jezebel spirit never asked that question, because the root of a Jezebel spirit is pride and control. Someone that has humility will be set free. So the greatest way to stay free from this spirit is to stay humble, to stay in the presence of God. You can learn more about this spirit and many other spirits in my demonology class. It's a workbook and 16 audio sessions you can find at ryanlestrange.com. I believe God's called the last days church to be victorious, and we have no time for Jezebel.